Hi, you'll notice we don't normally start a podcast like this, but when I tried to upload the latest episode to YouTube, we were in breach of copyright rules. Now, what that was about was we had three player profiles, Aaron Ramsdale, Takahiro Tomiyasu, and Martin Odegaard, and there was clips and footage of all three players just to give you a sense of what we were going to talk about, like a prompter. We've subsequently had to take all of those out. So it will look a bit disjointed because we go to the clip and the clip's no longer there. But the podcast, stick with it. There is lots to talk about, and we discuss the transfer window and try and give it a different tilt. Try and look at it from a different angle because it's not all doom and gloom, as you've seen some of the numpties on Twitter. There is some sort of rational explanation of what we may be doing. I can't guarantee that we are doing that, but we've got our own theory. So stick along for that. I hope it doesn't spoil your enjoyment too much. Hi and welcome to the gun room. It's a special gun room. It's a three-way tonight. Oh yeah. Don't get carried away and start reaching for tissues or anything like that. We are going to be covering the transfer window, such as it was yesterday. And with me, I've got Jay, as usual.
Hello,
Jay. And in the top corner, right next to me, is Mitch. Mitch, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get cracking. Fill us in how you became an Arsenal supporter and what you do to sort of bounce along with the Arsenal.
Yeah, I started following the sport in 2014 during the World Cup. Me and my friends all started watching those games and then all started playing FIFA, and that kind of just catapulted all of us into really starting to pay attention to the sport and kind of just becoming fans. Me and one of my really good friends kind of decided to support Arsenal. And because we had never really been a fan of the same team before, and I've been following ever since. I started writing articles and threads on Twitter back in July, and I've really enjoyed doing that since. And I really appreciate you having me on today.
Hey, no problem. Where are you at the moment?
I am from Colorado in the States, but I am currently in London for a semester abroad for college.
Right. So whereabouts are you in Londinium?
I'm in Hoxton, so by the Old Street station.
Oh, right. East London, there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, welcome to the podcast. Let's get cracking. Got lots to go through, gents. Mitch, what's your overall opinion of the season so far? What progress has been made, and do you think we're on the right track?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're on the right track. I have been very, very optimistic and excited about what we've done so far this season. It's been great to see us like really playing how we want to play and how Arteta wants us to play. We finally have most of the players and like most of the squad that is going to be like that team. We're able to see this just a huge change in our defense with our new signings. And it's finally coming to fruition with our attack. We didn't really see it in this last month, but up until now, it's been really good with all of our young guys really firing on all cylinders. And I'd say it's been pretty successful so far, and we'll hopefully have a pretty successful second half of the season.
Jay, let me come to you. Lots been written on social media about Mikel Arteta and this confrontation with certain players, Ozil, Guendouzi, and obviously Aubameyang. What for you has he got right and what's he got wrong?
Well, what's he got right? I suppose he's like we've discussed before. He's the recruitment this year, I think, has been heavily influenced by the type of player. So the sort of the attitude of the player. You know, they're all very similar. Sort of the Ramsdale, Ben White, they're all similar characters. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a throat lurgy, so you got to, yeah.
Thank God you're at the end of a microphone. We don't want none of that. We'll get my spray out in a minute.
So you think of, like I said, Ramsdale, Aaron Ramsdale, Ben White, Tomiyasu, Martin Odegaard, those kind of players. They're all they all come across very similar type characters, and I believe they've been sort of carefully selected based on that. And in the same way, Mikel has got rid of what he would consider to be difficult characters potentially that could cause issues in the squad. And I think he's got it spot on, and like Mitch said, this season we've seen we've seen improvements. Don't get me wrong, we're not the finished article, we all know that. However, we've definitely seen improvement defensively, and the team itself is so much more likable from a supporter's point of view. And that's where I think Mikel has got it spot on. I think one of the first things he said was when he became head coach back then was that he wanted to get the fans back on board, and he wanted to get he felt a real disconnect with the supporters, and I think he's done really well in building those bridges, and the supporters now I believe are far more united than they were in not too long ago, and it's down to the recruitment and also sort of Mikel's attitude himself. The non-negotiables. That term has been sort of thrown around from time to time by Mikel, and I think he's enforced that, especially when it came to Aubameyang. So I think, everybody has their own personal view on the manager, but I think he's done a good job.
Do you think that feeling's going to disappear a little bit because we've had this sort of January thing where we haven't really bought anyone too much, and because of the Aubameyang thing, do you think that's going to change?
Well, let's look at the January transfer window itself. I think we all expected maybe one or two additions, whether it be a couple of loan signings or because we were thin. So to get nobody or to get no signings is disappointing, absolutely, no doubt. And you can't help but shake that, or you can't help but feel that it was a little opportunity missed. If we could have gone out and if we'd have recruited a striker and could have gave us that little bit of edge in the run-in and maybe got us over the line into the Champions League. Now we're in the race for the Champions League now without that mythical striker that we didn't get. So I'm still positive. We've got fewer games to negotiate than some of the other clubs, and we have got enough, I believe, still. The players that left didn't really impact the team, and that includes Aubameyang. So, I think social media is such a tough place because people have their own agendas, and I think the real hardcore Arsenal, or the people that the supporters that are able to look at the club from a more broader point of view we can all agree that we're in a much better position. Even now, after not signing anybody, we're in a much better position than we were at the start of the season, no doubt.
See, this is why Jay comes on. He's like a little optimistic pot of gold. He just comes on and does these things and lays it out for us. Mitch, are you worried about up front? Because we've got Nketiah, who we've said on the podcast isn't that impressive, really, because we like these gritty, pithy, physical kind of strikers. And then we've got Lacazette, who's burning close to the edge of the wick. Been suggested today, throw this in, Pepe, bring him off the flank because there's no room for him on either flank, is there, really? You've got Martinelli and you've got Saka, and give him a go in the middle. Why not? 75 million or 72 million? What's to lose? Mitch, what's your thoughts?
So in regards to our current striker position, obviously, I would have preferred that we bring someone in this window. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. I think we may have wasted our time a little too much with Dusan Vlahovic, and when every single sign pointed to that not looking likely. And clearly, the club did not rate Alexander Isak the way that some sects of the fan base do. And so there wasn't a viable option for us to bring in. And so now we have Lacazette and Nketiah, who are both out of contract in the summer. So it's an interesting situation that we're in with at the striker position. I personally do think that when Lacazette is at full strength and full fitness, he is a really good fit for our current setup. I don't think he's a long-term option by any means. I don't think we should go out and give him a 3-year deal. But I do think that when he's not completely gassed, which, I mean, like you said, looking at like he's at the end of a wick sometimes, he's a really valuable player. His ability to drop deeper has really, really been effective for Odegaard, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Saka to all thrive under that, and to not have a striker that's playing on the last man like Aubameyang and trying to make a run. So it's been a lot more effective having Lacazette in the team, and it's been that way since last season, since Aubameyang stopped playing as well. Lacazette has been our more team-oriented striker, and it's worked a lot better for us. If he can keep his fitness up, he's a good player to have in the team. And then Nketiah he's really good at a couple things, but I don't think that's enough for me to like say that he should start over Lacazette in any capacity. Really great fox in the box, really great goal scorer. I think he would do wonders at a club like Brighton, where they're just creating chance after chance after chance after chance. I don't think he works as well in our current setup, but I don't hate him as a backup. I'd prefer other positions, but you know, the window closed yesterday. We're not really in a position to be bargaining. And then in regards to Nicolas Pepe, I'm not a fan of him playing up top. I think that the ability to hold up the ball and particularly keep possession is really important for our number 9, and that's something Nicolas Pepe is really bad at. And he's thrives with space, and he
kind of runs and hopes that the ball will catch him up, doesn't he?
Exactly. He's like, we saw with the Ivory Coast during the Cup of Nations, we saw a different Nicolas Pepe than we've been seeing for this season at Arsenal, and it's because Cote d'Ivoire play a way that suits his style, and they play a more counterattacking way, which allows him to have more space than he gets in the Premier League. Premier League defenders have figured him out because he's very one-footed. And so if he's coming in, he's going to cut left and try to take that shot on the edge of the 18. And Premier League defenders know that, so they're going to close that down every single time, which is why he was not nearly as effective this season as he has been in the past. If he plays anywhere, I prefer him to play on the left because he's a little bit more interesting. He can go in, put in a cross, and then he could also go inside and shoot near post. I think he's a little bit more effective and not as predictable, but not a huge fan of him up top. I've seen a lot of shouts for Gabriel Martinelli as well in that striker position. I even wrote an article about it like a month or two ago. I think he's a really talented player in that regard, but his skill with his back to goal isn't at the caliber that it is with Lacazette, and I think he thrives with a lot of space on the wing, which is why he's been doing so well in that position, because with Tierney able to overlap and a striker being able to move towards him, he's able to go in a lot of different directions and use his skills in a lot of effective ways that he would kind of be limited up top. Like he played up top for us earlier in the season against Chelsea, and it did not go well, particularly for him. It didn't go well for our team as a whole. I think he touched the ball like 7 times, which is something we saw a lot with Aubameyang, particularly when we didn't play well, is because he was a player that would kind of hang on the last line, he wouldn't get in the game very much unless the ball was given to him. So if we're not getting the ball up field very much, he isn't going to impose himself very much, and he's pretty good going back defensively on the left wing. Lacazette, in like a situation where we're kind of getting peppered, is going to touch the ball and have a lot more influence in the game because of his ability to drop deeper. That does hurt us a little bit in the final third, as we've seen the last couple of games with his lack of pace. Him dropping deeper doesn't allow him to get to the 18 in time to like be in there for a cross, which does hurt us. Lacazette is far from a perfect striker, but I do think he is by far our best available option right now.
Guys, I want to talk to you about a bubble that was burst for Mikel Arteta. He said historically the club has always been targeting the best players in the world, and the best players in the world were always interested. Well, it doesn't really seem that way anymore, does it? Jay, do you think he's just had to wake up and smell the coffee recently?
Well, I suppose we'd all love to know what goes on behind those scenes, right? Because we were linked with everybody from. Well, I saw we were linked with Morata. You know, like, come on, does anybody seriously think we were in for him? You know, again, you'd just love to know what goes on behind those closed doors. I'd love to know who we were really in for. You know, I mean, we were in for Vlahovic, but like Mitch said, I don't think anybody really seriously thought we would manage. You know, we would get that signing over the line. You know,
you said as much a couple of weeks back, didn't you? You said, you know, we'll go for him, but I don't think we'll get him.
No. And it just worries me going forward because, you know, Lacazette, as we've said before, Tom, he drops deep so well, and he's not afraid to take a tackle. He's not afraid to draw defenders in and play that physical side of the game. He does it well, draws fouls. He sort of adapted his game down the years. You know, the slower he's got, his ability to take a challenge, you know, and give it back, you know, it's important. But ultimately, he doesn't score enough, does he? And neither does Nketiah, and that's the worry. You live in hope that they can discover their goal scoring touch. I've never been convinced by Nketiah. Maybe in and around the box, I suppose that's all he really is. He's a fox in the box type striker, isn't he? He's not gonna drop deep and collect the ball and drive forward. He's going to get on the end of crosses in and around the 6-yard box, as we've seen in the Carabao Cup, and you know, the few goals that he has scored in the league. Martinelli, I mean, he's been so good out wide, and just recently, you know, especially, well, not so much recently, but against City a few games back. And before that, you know, Martinelli on the left, Saka on the right, they give us so much balance. And it means with them two bombing forward, as we said before, Lacazette can drop deep and they get beyond him, and Odegaard can pick those passes. It is what it is. We didn't bring anyone in, so we have, you know, Aubameyang left, but he was hardly featuring, so we haven't got many options. It's such a tough one.
As Wham said, we're going to go young guns, aren't we? Because that bench was full. It was like a crash, wasn't it? So, which was nice. It was nice to see all those young faces on there, and you know, the talent that they've got is going to be great. But it is one for the future. Probably not next season after. Gradual introduction. But Mitch, do you see us ever getting back to that level where we can attract the top talent again? Because it's almost like we're stuck in limbo now, because you know, people want Champions League, regardless of what I might think of it. They want these things to be competing for the Premier League, and when you're not doing it, you're not as attractive.
Yeah, I don't know if Vlahovic's situation is necessarily going to be the rule when it comes to transfers. I think it's particularly hard to get players out of certain leagues. Particularly Italy is a tough one to lure players away from. We saw a similar thing with Locatelli during the summer. And I do think that Arsenal still has quite a bit of pull. But I think it's becoming a little bit regional because of our success coming farther and farther away from us at the moment. Like France in particular is a really good place where we still have like a lot of good reputation and a lot of clout in France in terms of like these young players that idolized Thierry Henry or wanted to be Patrick Vieira. Like we still have that. We're still the same like image of a club. The recent form, if you're Dusan Vlahovic, you're like, yeah, I think I'd rather go to Juventus than Arsenal. They've been more successful recently. And yeah, if you're a young player and you're already thriving in that league, that makes a lot of sense that you would prefer to do that. It's a little bit more of a risk in your career if you're looking like Dusan Vlahovic. You're like, oh, they're up in the air on whether they're gonna like make Europe or not. I don't know if I want to like be part of that necessarily. It might be a little too soon, and that's a completely fair from a player's point of view and in terms of their career. I do think that if we qualify for the Champions League, it's going to be massive for our chances of having a very, very successful summer. I think we're still have like a lot of pull in terms of like all of the strikers that are available to us that we are linked to right now that are like realistic. The Calvert-Lewins, the Isaks, the Jonathan Davids, the Tony, all of those players would move to Arsenal in a heartbeat. No questions asked. It's a step up in their career. Arsenal is a huge club. Players know this, and players will move to a big club if given the opportunity. Bruno Guimaraes, when he signed for Newcastle, was screaming out in his announcement video that we didn't put a bid in for him. Like we're still a very big club. We still have a lot of pull, and I don't think it's completely gone from us. But I don't think it's fair to expect every single player to be clamoring. I don't think we have the kind of pull to be like going in for any player. Like if we're like, hey, Erling Haaland, we'll pay a release clause. He's not going to come. He's not going to come.
You can look at Thomas Partey and Martin Odegaard. You know, they are, especially Partey, you know, coming from Atletico Madrid, and Odegaard as well, put them on that level where these guys are high-end players. You know, these are very, you know, and I know Thomas Partey, you know, he's not exactly set the Emirates alight, but he came with a huge reputation, and he was, you know, and he still is very well respected. And the same goes with Odegaard. So I just wanted to second what Mitch said. We still have got a huge pull, and apart from the very, very rich clubs, we can offer huge wages as well. We can outbid from that point of view the majority of clubs in the world, like I said, other than the very, very rich. So when it comes down to the we're not dining at the very, very top table, but we're on the next one down. And when we go fishing for those players, we've still got a huge pull, and obviously London as well is a huge pull for foreign players. So we are still a huge deal. But again, like Mitch said, we need to get back into the Champions League. But we very basic, from a basic point of view, we need to get back into Europe. We need to, because the reputation with each year that passes, the club, it just, you know, I wouldn't say that the reputation just gets damaged a little bit more, you know, and we need to get back into Europe. And the sooner, and the thing is, it's right there for us. I know I keep saying it, Tom. It is right there. The chance, you know, we are
smell it, can't you?
We're very much. I mean, there's only 17 games left, you know, and it's there for us. It's there for the taking. And I think if we can just, I mean, laugh at me when I say this, obviously, but if we can avoid suspensions, or if we can avoid injuries, our starting 11, or, you know, the 12, 13 players, it's strong. It's as strong as Spurs. It's as strong as Man United. And it's right there for us. And all it takes is a little bit of luck. And if we can get back into the Champions League, like Mitch said, those players that were umming and ahhing about coming to us will then start to consider us, you know, far more seriously. So that's why I said at the top, you know, it was...
He's feeling frustrated. You can see it.
Just frustrated because we if we'd have just, you know, because I've seen a lot on social media about if the right player wasn't there, don't waste the money. And I get that, right? I get that. But if that player that you do sign, let's say we sign Isaac, and he came in and he scored sort of 5 or 6 goals, and I know it's all hypothetical, but if that player gets you over the line, you know, is it better to have done it? And then you are, because the goal here is to get back into the Champions League. And if we get back into the Champions League this season, then we're 1 or 2 years ahead of where the process says we should be. So Yeah, that's the frustrating thing for me. But
well, I'm just glad Costa and Morata didn't come in, because they would have been at the bottom of my list. I'm going to take you through a couple of things that I found on social media. God Bless Arsenal said, Arsenal fans are jumping on the bandwagon talking about the 20 million plus savings on Alba's wages. Many don't understand the concept of false economy. You're making savings, but you didn't use it to sign an adequate replacement. If you finish poorly in the season, you struggle to attract top players. He's got a little bit of a point there, hasn't he, really? Just a little one. Mitch?
Yeah, I mean, the money we saved from Aubameyang is really big and really, really good. I'm really glad, just from an emotional perspective with Aubameyang, that it didn't sour the way the Ozil situation did, where it didn't drag on. It was a disappointing way for his time at Arsenal to end. As one of like my favorite players in his time here, it was a joy to watch him play for us, and it sucks that it had to end the way it did. But the money that we save by him leaving now on a permanent is massive. Yeah, he makes a good point where we didn't sign an adequate replacement, and that could potentially hurt us. But the January window is very tough. We don't know what was happening behind the scenes in terms of like who they were actually going for. Yeah. What was just smoke? Who was like a genuine target? And like there is a lot to be said of not wanting to like you gave the Alexander Isak example. If we had activated his release clause, he's our new record transfer, and that's a big deal, because we're not Chelsea, where we're going to go spend 75 million and then replace him with a 115 million guy then the very next season, because we're, like we've been saying, we're a rich club, but we're not that rich of a club. We can't afford to pay off our mistakes like that. So if we did get his release clause, even if he was like good enough to like push the line, we make top 4, but he's not good enough to like be that guy for a long time, then we made a big mistake. And I think it was wise to like not rush into anything. Because if the club truly wanted Isak, they would have paid the release clause 100%. That was an easy deal to like get done. It was just like Thomas Partey when we got him. Like we were chasing Houssem Aouar the whole summer, and when we couldn't agree to a term, we're like, great. Well, we have another great player that we can get, and we'll get him right now with the release clause. If the club truly thought that he was worth that money, they would have paid it. And I just don't think they did. And obviously we don't know what's going on. We don't know the process. We don't know how much Edu had to do with this window, or how much Arteta had to do with this window. What was all this time and energy put into Vlahovic, and then we didn't get anything out of it. There's so much we don't know as fans. Yeah. And so, I think a lot of fans are just trying to see the silver linings of things, which is good. As someone who likes to be pretty positive about Arsenal in particular, that's what I would like to do too. Like I like looking at that 25 million and being like, great, he wasn't sitting on our books for a year and a half, training by himself like Mesut Ozil. This is great. We didn't have to go through this whole situation like we did before. And we don't have to pay that money. This is really good. And then there's others that are being like, well, it's not as good if we don't sign someone with that money. And they also have a fair point to say that. Arsenal fans have a right to be a little bit frustrated by this window. Absolutely. It was a frustrating month. It was tough to watch a bunch of players leave and not sign anyone. There's a lot to be questioned. But again, it's not the end of the world. And
do you think this is like the second phase, isn't it? Because we bought all those new players in the summer, and we're all of us, it doesn't matter who it was moaning about getting rid of the dead wood. Well, he's actually done that. He's done that. And people are still moaning. Now they're moaning because they're not there. And what we've got is, I've got another bit I'll read you out, but you've seen this, Jay. This is Cockney Turk. You've seen that on Twitter. But it just goes through some of the figures, and it was unmanageable. It was unworkable. Ozil, 350. Aubameyang, 350. Willian, 200. Kolasinac, 180, David Luiz, 150, Torreira and Bellerin on 80k. Staggering. You can't keep doing it, not for average players or for players like Ozil and Aubameyang who weren't putting in the shift. Jay, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to just add to what Mitch said about the frustration, because I think part of the frustration as well is because things have been better, you know, things have been slightly more positive, well, a lot more positive this season, and everybody can see that we are moving in the right direction. So if we were sitting in sort of mid-table or 8th or 9th and not competing, the frustration levels wouldn't be where they are now, you know, because we do have a little bit more hope. The hope's there, isn't it? I mean, we have moved. I've been one of those people that were very vocal about wanting to clear out the deadwood. We had so many players, you know, it wasn't that long ago. We had, you know, your Socrates, David Luiz, Pablo Mari. We had so many central defenders, and none of them were playing. None of them were really any good. You know, I mean, the Callum Chambers transfer just came out of nowhere, didn't it? Nobody saw that coming. And out of all of them, he was probably the one that I'd have kept, you know, because he was quite versatile and he's looked okay when he's come on. And I just quite like him personally. He's always come across like a model professional, you know, he comes across like a good guy. He left and then I suppose it was that transfer, wasn't it, that sort of everybody sort of turned around and was like, wow, we are a bit thin now. We have literally cleared out everybody, and we've got what I think it's 17 or 18 first team players now. Now I think you can look at that in one way. You've got a smaller group, which is,
hold on, my light's just gone.
You got, say, 18 players. You've got a smaller, more tight-knit group, which is easier to manage, and they're all very like-minded individuals. And I like to think that's the case that's where we are now. But also there's the other point of view where we're only 1 or 2 injuries away from total unknowns, you know, young kids getting thrown in, and that's the concern. We can't. I like to think that the club have learned from those huge contracts. You know, that Aubameyang was the last one, and from now on we're going to start receiving transfer fees for players, because it's just gone on for too long now. You know, Arsene Wenger famously would never offer anybody over the age of 30 more than a 1-year contract, and you can see why, you know. So you like to think that the club has learned. Aubameyang's the last one.
I've got an interesting bit for you. It kind of follows on from where we're going here. It's from Breaking Arsenal News. And he says, it took me a while to really deep think about this transfer window. Why the hell would Edu and Arteta weaken the team without reinforcements? But he goes on. But then it clicked. Is Arsenal actually getting weaker? Arsenal outgoings for players. Callum Chambers had 2 starts. Pablo Mari, 2 starts. Kolasinac, 1 start. Maitland-Niles, 2 starts. They weren't exactly ripping up trees. And he also says that while Aubameyang's departure seems significant on paper, in reality, we're not missing much with his exits. 12 starts, 4 goals, 1 assist. He's bang on. I mean, you know, all these panic merchants going on about stuff. He's just hit the nail on the head, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only thing, like, the one that, like, there's like 2 things that I would change about like our outgoings. The first would be the timing of Maitland-Niles' loan. I think that was a very poor choice. I think we totally could have sent him out on loan later in the window, and it would have helped us out a lot, because when we lost midfielders for AFCON, that's when we needed Maitland-Niles, and that's when we didn't have Maitland-Niles, and it hurt us. And then from a personal standpoint, the same way that you said, I love Callum Chambers. I think he's better than Cedric as our right back. And then he's versatile too, he plays center back. He won player of the season at Fulham years ago when he played defensive midfield. a very versatile player. Apparently, according to The Athletic, he our one option to extend his contract by a year ended after at the new year. So we lost that that clause, and then we're like, okay, we'll move on from him. Which, like, okay, that's fair. It's unfortunate to see that happen and happen so suddenly. That was a very crazy transfer. But other than that, the clearing of the deadwood is great. I've been begging for this for a while. This is like these huge contracts that we're getting rid of, these players that don't play. And
just
and
to
we're
put it
see
in perspective, Mitch, it's gone from 157 million, somewhere around that measure. It's come down to about 87 million.
And that's massive. And I saw something earlier today about from last year with Wenger, our wage to our first year with Emery, our wage almost doubled. And so ever since then, we've just been in just kind of a rough time for wages because of that huge jump from that year to try to buy our way ourselves back into the Champions League right away. Because we just kind of went into panic mode after not qualifying for the first time in a long, long time. And we're finally recovering from that. We're finally making smarter purchases. Oh, let's buy 21-year-old Nuno Tavares instead of a 30-year-old Danny Rose to be our backup left back. That was a very good choice by the club to go for someone that, maybe Tavares will develop into something. Maybe he'll have resale value. Maybe he'll be better than Kieran Tierney. This is something that we can build on rather than a known quantity who's going to be a backup eating wages and then we get rid of. And we have to just like pay to make them leave like we saw with Willian. The club is clearly learning. Edu and Arteta are very new to their jobs. They have been learning on the jobs. We've seen the mistakes. We've seen the bumps. We've been along for the ride. And I think we're finally seeing this like really smart management happen with the squad building and with the team. And the full overhaul will come to fruition in the summer when we sign a striker, when we sign a center mid to take Xhaka's place. We'll really see the full fruition of what Arteta's Arsenal can be.
I might be deluded here, but I think this is part of the plan. The second phase of getting rid of all the driftwood is to make it so in the summer we can go in heavy and get a couple of additions that are top draw. And it's all about balancing the books at the end of the day. It's a business. I know it's our football club and we love it because of the football, but it has to be run properly. Otherwise, you wind up like Derby County. Now, listen, I've just introduced a bit of fun. We're the North Bank on Twitter. Just a little bit of fun. There are a lot of Arsenal fans on my timeline I wish they were getting rid of on a free this weekend. Right, shall we talk about something upbeat? Shall we talk about the successful summer transfers? We're going to look at three players that we've picked out, myself and Jay, and we'll run the VT. We'll have a little space, and then we'll be back and we'll talk about them. First up is Aaron Ramsdale. Let's run the VT. Right, okay. Aaron Ramsdale, what a belter. So many people were saying that we shouldn't buy him. So many people were against him. He'd been relegated twice with two teams. And then he just comes in and rips up the rule book. Jay, he's top drawer, isn't he?
Yeah, he's class. He's somebody, I think I've seen a few interviews with supporters from his previous clubs, and they were saying, especially at Sheffield United, just how immense he was for them, and they were saying that just what a great goalkeeper we were getting. He's been a surprise. Nobody, I don't think, expected him to be as good as he is. And I mean, away from the football pitch, when he's being interviewed, like, he looks like such a top bloke, doesn't he? He looks like such a likable character. You've seen him on the pitch when he's getting sort of goaded by opposition supporters. He doesn't care. He just gets well involved, doesn't he? And also he's got so much ability. His saves. Especially against Leicester earlier in the season. Obviously the free kick
double whammy, yeah.
Maddison's free kick, got back up and managed to keep it out. He made a couple more in that game. His distribution from the back has been key to so many of our sort of great goals and great moves, and with the ball at his feet, Leno's a good keeper, but there's no comparison between the two when it comes to their ability to pass out from the back. Excuse me. And again, it just comes back to what I was saying earlier about how the sort of the atmosphere that Mikel's tried to set in the team this season. Aaron Ramsdale's been an absolute key member of this team and this whole change of attitude, and alongside the likes of Saka and Smith Rowe and these guys playing with smiles on their faces, and Ramsdale. I mean, he's been a breath of fresh air, and he's going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, he's going to be the goalkeeper for the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully.
Mitch, give us your thoughts. Get overly excited. You can do.
Yeah, I have to echo a lot of what he's saying. Ramsdale's been phenomenal. I was someone who was one of the many who were hesitant about the deal in the summer. My hesitancy mostly came from the reported fee, and I hadn't seen much of him, as I don't think many Arsenal fans had, and it got the intention that, like, okay, this guy's probably gonna be a backup because Leno's really good. Why are we spending nearly 30 million on a backup goalkeeper? That makes no sense. And even like people who are outside the club are like, that makes no sense. People that watch a lot of different games that aren't just like watching one club, like Tifo was saying that it wasn't going to be a good signing, and then apologized to Aaron Ramsdale, which is great to see. He's brought this swagger to the position that we've really needed. This back line, this new back line, just loves to defend, and you just love that. You see them celebrating clearances like players celebrate goals, and like that's the kind of like fire that you want from a goalkeeper and from a back line. It's been awesome to see. Like his distribution, his shot stopping. He's been a great all-round keeper, and every statistic says that about his goalkeeping. The one thing is his handling. That's been scaring me. It hasn't bit us in the ass yet, but he's been phenomenal this season. He's been a revelation, and I didn't think anyone would take Leno's spot. I thought we were bringing in a backup goalkeeper, and Leno might never play for Arsenal again now that we're out of both of the cup competitions. That's crazy that we brought in a goalkeeper that's good enough to just come in out of nowhere and do that. It's a huge credit to Arsenal's scouting department to be able to see a goalkeeper who has been playing hoofball for the last 2 years and see, yeah, this guy's one of the best goalkeepers in the league with his feet. I don't know how you would recognize that after seeing him just boot the ball as far as he can every single time he touches it. And then we've talked a lot about the character of him.
He's got us out of that mold as well, isn't he? This playing out from the back. I mean, he takes it himself to make those key decisions. And what I like about him is the fact that he's fairly dominant and aggressive with his defenders. Leno would. Do you remember when he got bounced in the goal by that Brentford player, wasn't it? Yeah. And he just took it. I can't see Ramsdale.
Ramsdale would never take that.
Yeah, it'll be straight on it. And as you say, what's happened there is you've got 4 defenders who love defending, plus you've got a guy behind them that you can actually count on. When shit comes to shove, you know that Ramsdale's going to be there. And they're all playing with one another, high-fiving, arms around the shoulder. That's what it's all about. That's what we've been missing. And it's an integral part. If we're going to go anywhere in the future, you've got to have it right at the back. George Graham said it years and years ago, and that's where we're back to now. Build out from the back. Mm-hmm. Jay, anything else to add?
No, I think we've covered it all. It won't be long until he's England's number one. I think he's almost there now. It's great to see that there's been a few times David Seaman has interviewed him, and he was the last real great Arsenal goalkeeper, and you can see Aaron Ramsdale, hopefully, fingers crossed, having a similar sort of career than Seaman had. So yeah, we're very lucky to have him. And he looks like he loves the club as well, doesn't he? He looks like he's bought into the tradition, he's bought into the class, and he loves everything, and he's got fully behind this new Arsenal team. So yeah, love the guy.
I don't know whether you saw it. They were in Dubai and they were doing their training and all that sort of thing. And there's Ramsdale showing the strikers how to do it. Did you see it?
Yeah.
It was brilliant. I mean, I don't know whether he started off as another kind of like an attacking player or a midfielder or something, and then he went on to become a goalkeeper. But he's got the skills. He has got the skills. Right then, let's push on. Is that your missus in the background?
Roommates. Sorry.
Oh, it was Jay's end.
No, not mine. No.
Right then, let's move on to the next one. The profile. It's going to be Tomiyasu, who made a huge impact. And as I was saying to Mitch just before we came on, he forgot to take on board the memo. That one where you've got to settle down for a season. Didn't get it at all. Let's have a look now. Right then, back. Let's have a chat about Tomiyasu. Let's come to you first, Mitch. What did you make of him? I mean, nobody knew he was on the radar. Carvey Solokol said he wasn't a right back. He wasn't a central defender. And then he blew us all away.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I love about being an American Arsenal fan, especially during a transfer window, is all the news happens when I'm asleep. So I get to wake up and then see cool notifications on transfer deadline day that Arsenal's going in for a right back. And so I, like many Arsenal fans, did not know who Tomiyasu was. I was, from what I had seen the entire day, he seemed like he would be a very good profile fit. The profile for a right back that we saw a lot last season after Callum Chambers started coming into the team was the inverted role. The inverted role has been really, really good in terms of maintaining our possession and being good defensively and good in attack. Bukayo Saka being really, really good helps out that a lot. Nicolas Pepe, when he's played the right wing, has kind of needed a guy like Bellerin or like Cedric to be a support, to overlap, to give him space. Like I was saying earlier, Pepe thrives in space. And transitioning into the inverted fullback with Callum Chambers and then upgrading that with Tomiyasu was a great move for our team because he's just been lights out. He's been phenomenal. And everything that Chambers was good at and or was solid at last season in that role and was able to like deputize pretty well, Tomiyasu does that all better. And like the complaints that he's not a center back, he's not a right back, that doesn't matter. He's just a good defender. The center back mold makes him a really, really good defender. And Arteta loves the versatility. I think most players on our team can play other positions. He's one of them. And his ability to just be a really solid defender, as well as being pretty decent in support when going forward. I think he still has things to improve on there. But like you said, he's been lights out in the Premier League this season. He's not exactly a Trent Alexander-Arnold that's going to steal all the headlines from right back. But for what his role is in this Arsenal team, every Arsenal fan sees it. Tomiyasu is an absolute star and a perfect fit for a right back role. There's a lot of people that like want Tariq Lamptey and still do because they want that Liverpool thing of two fullbacks who are going to bomb up the pitch. But that's not how we play. Klopp plays very differently to Arteta, and Tomiyasu is the perfect right back for Mikel Arteta's system.
Jay, he was an upgrade, wasn't he, on Bellerin in just about every department. I used to like Hector Bellerin, but defensively he was a bit vague. It was his pace that saved him. But this guy, he can get up there. He's got great positional awareness, isn't he? And what I like about him as well is that he covers Ben White as well. And you could actually flip those two, I'm sure. You could put Tomiyasu in the middle and Ben out on the right-hand side. What overall difference has he made for you?
Yeah, I mean, Mitch was absolutely spot on there with his description of him. I just want to add that I I think it was his second game against Burnley away. We went to it and we were in the stand, and you know, Burnley's a tough place to go. You know, they're not the best side in the world, but you know what, they're a tough, physically big side, and the fans were right on top of you, and it was a big test for him, and he was man of the match, and it's not. He's not just the fact that physically he's relentless, and he's defensively so sound, and his positional sense is so good, his awareness is so good. But more than anything else, that's impressed me more than anything else is his ability to deal with the mental aspect of the Premier League, and he's just straight away so switched on. And I mean, it is a credit to Arteta's scouting team, because he again plucked from nowhere. And he's just been an absolute revelation, and it must be, you know, from Mikel's point of view, it must to have somebody like that, who, I mean, has he had a bad game other than
the recent Liverpool game?
Yeah, when
but,
he wasn't
he was injured.
Yeah,
so take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, so let's sort of forget about that one. But you know, before that, he very rarely drops below a sort of a 7.5 out of 10, you know, and more often than not, he's one of our best players. And like you said, Tom, I liked Hector. I'd take him back as a backup for Tomiyasu, but there's no comparison between the two. Tomiyasu's like, you know, Gabriel's been good, Ben White's been good, Tierney's been okay, Tavares has been good this season, but Tomiyasu has just been our outstanding defender, and he's been the one that I think it gives the others confidence. You know, he's just he's a machine. And again,
he did a lot of mopping up as well, didn't he? Because if the ball kind of goes past him, which is rare, but if it goes in at a different angle where he's not supposed to be, he goes in and mops it up as well. And the other thing, what you said was he's relentless. I mean, there's a couple of times he's gone to ground, got up and got on with it again, and had a couple of nibbles to get the ball back. Fantastic. Sublime. Yeah. We've done really well with the 6 that we bought in, and this is quite good, really. Looking into the summer, we cut the wage bill. We did have a really good summer, so it could be the same again. We could be building up to that, and as long as we've got the attitude and the appetite from these new guys, if we bring them in, it's only 2 or 3 really. I think we need. I think we'll be all right. So let's look at the last one, and it's absolutely no surprise so far. Predictableville, isn't it? We've had Ramsdale, we've had Tomiyasu, and now we're going to be really bloody predictable and have Martin Odegaard. Let's watch this. Martin Odegaard, fellas. He's just amazing. He's copped a lot of stick, hasn't he, on social media? I don't know what some people watch. Perhaps they're not facing the telly. That might be the answer. Mitch, what does Martin Odegaard give you?
I think the biggest con to a lot of Arsenal fans when it comes to Martin Odegaard is that he is not James Maddison, because people got so excited for the possibility of James Maddison this summer that when we re-signed Odegaard, they were not happy about it. I've been a huge fan of him for a long time. I was overjoyed when we signed him on loan last January, a year ago from now. And I was the same kind of ecstatic when we signed him on a permanent transfer for only 30 million too. Mm-hmm. What a steal for a player like Martin Odegaard. Just what a player. And I was looking earlier because of that thing with James Maddison at some of their statistics. Odegaard's outplayed him in a lot of the metrics that are important for a 10. The expected assists, he's been better. Key passes, he's been better. He's the places he's worse in are in like the goal scoring and the like XG. But even then, he's scored 4 goals for us this season. He's been really good, especially in picking that side of the game up. I think a lot of people who have watched a lot of him will say that was a big thing he needed to improve, particularly like with Norway and stuff like that. And he's done a great job of that this season, scoring in four games in a row, or 4 and 5. But he's been fantastic for us. I mean, he's just one of those players that is just a joy to watch. and makes you just love watching the game. He had a play earlier this season where he hit a back heel to Bukayo Saka against West Brom to put him in for a goal. And it's just like, you're just an incredible, incredible player. And it's so fun to watch. His assist to Smith Rowe versus Leeds, I believe, was just a beautiful play from both of them. I think he's made a strong case ever since Aubameyang has come out of the team. He's made a strong case of like, hey, that armband, I want that. I want that badly. He's the captain of Norway. He is making a strong case to be the captain of Arsenal, and I would not complain in the slightest if that was the case. I love him, and he's been such a good signing.
Mm-hmm.
What have you enjoyed about him, Jay?
Yeah, he's, again, like Mitch said, like Mitch touched on, he really has. He's sort of shown really strong captaincy attributes. His passing, his work rate as well. You know, he leads by example. He leads the press. You know, you watch him off the ball. He's absolutely tearing after the ball when we haven't got it. You know, he's the one setting like an example for the rest of the team. And he's, what is he, 22, 23 years old, but he's vastly experienced. You know, he's to the extent of maybe the equivalent would be like a 30, 31-year-old. You know, he's played for arguably the biggest club in the world for years. He's like Mitch said, captain of Norway. And I think the players look up to him, don't they? He's got that senior, he's definitely, now Aubameyang's gone, probably the most, maybe not in age, but in experience, definitely the more senior member of the squad. And when you've got players like Bukayo Saka and Smith Rowe and Martinelli, and then you've got right in the middle of all those, you've got Martin Odegaard, who I mean, you mentioned some of the touches, but you look at his goals. You know, his goal at Old Trafford, he's one touch straight in the bottom corner. His goal against Everton, side foot into the corner. He scored, I think it was West Ham. Was it a header? You know, he doesn't blast it. Everything's well thought out. I suppose there are similarities to Mesut. You know, he has that. He's technically so good that it looks just a little bit too easy sometimes for him. And I mean that assist against Leeds, you know, just a little dink into Smith Rowe's path, and that's what he can do. But he's also got the ability to drop a little bit deeper. You know, Mikel has played him a bit deeper, although I don't think he's anywhere near as effective. He's still an option there to be able to, especially maybe if we're trying to see a game out, he can drop a little bit deeper alongside Xhaka and Partey. But 30 million, I mean, it's nothing in this day and age, is it?
It's absolutely
you know, and we've said this before, but he looks, you know, he's played for a number of different clubs now, and he's been loaned out, and he's obviously, it didn't quite work out for him at Real. But again, like we said about Ramsdale, he seems to have bought into the club, and he looks like he loves it, doesn't he? He looks like he's loving being part of Arsenal, and it looks like he's found his home. So if he's playing in the number 10 role for the next 5 or 6 years, 30 million is just snip. So again, superb.
Now and again, you get a player who just stands out, and it doesn't have to do much really. Kind of slows down time, if you know what I mean. A normal player, ball comes and it's away, isn't it? With him, he loves that ball. The ball drops at his feet, and he's working out. He has a quick look round to see where he can place that ball, and it's quality ball all the time. You know, all right, he'll do the odd fluff or whatever. Every player does, but 9 times out of 10, when you've got Martin Odegaard there, he can make things happen. He opens up defences. They're not quite sure of what he's going to do. He's got that creative flair. It's kind of, for me, it's as you were saying about Ozil. There's elements of that. But there's also elements of Bergkamp as well. So he's kind of Ozcamp all rolled into one. But he's a fantastic player. And as you say, 30 million, that's just daylight robbery. Right then, chaps, we've got a couple of things to go through. Interesting, Mitch, that you said about the captaincy, because I don't know whether we want to actually sort of labour him with that, because I was just reading this. What have we got here? Aubameyang stripped of the captaincy. Xhaka swore at Arsenal fans, stripped of the captaincy. Koscielny, he wouldn't play for us again, would he? He went abroad. And it goes right the way back. You've got Arteta injured constantly, Mertesacker injured constantly. But apart from Odegaard, are there any other standout candidates we can all agree on?
I think the obvious one that a lot of people have been crying out for a while is Kieran Tierney. He's been a constant character of the club that people are like, that's a future captain right there. And I agree. I think he would be a great fit for that role. I think it's a little bit harder being a left back. I think just like the prototypical captain is somewhere in the heart of the pitch, whether that's in midfield, center backs, or goalkeeper, so that they're able to kind of influence more. If Kieran is right for the role, I don't think that's gonna have a big effect. Like Hector Bellerin was our vice captain last season. I don't think Arteta cares about that much. So he's been the fan favorite for a long time. Odegaard's one of my favorites for it. A lot of people have talked about Gabriel. And I also think Ben White, he threw his hat in the ring for it too. I think both of our center backs are valuable candidates for players that could potentially be captains. And then Aaron Ramsdale totally has the personality for it. He's already been a big leader vocally with our defense, and just has that personality of who you want to be as a captain. I wrote about the captaincy situation when Aubameyang there's talk about him being stripped of the captaincy. I talked about a lot of people think of a Jordan Henderson. He's like a prototypical captain when I think of it in my head. And I think Kieran Tierney fits that role the most to me. But it'll be interesting to see what we do, because I think we will assign it permanently in the summer, and it won't be Xhaka, it won't be Partey, and it probably won't be Lacazette because he'll be leaving. And I also don't think that I'm not going to put any stock in former captains having issues or having injuries. I think if a player is although if they give it to Kieran Tierney, then you'll have another name that you can likely add to the entry list for that, because availability has been a bit of an issue in his career. And I think that is one knock against him as a captain, potentially. But I don't think I put that much interest into that. I don't think it would necessarily play a big role. I think any player that is that kind of personality isn't going to see that and be like, oh no, I don't want this role. Any player that is a captain and wants to be a captain, they're going to try to be that. Odegaard already has that with Norway, and Sambi Lokonga was a captain at Anderlecht. I'm not saying he should be Arsenal captain. He's nowhere near that, but we're clearly signing players who are cut from that mold. Yeah. And that's a very good thing when you have you been dealing with players with discipline issues. I don't think you're going to be dealing with a lot of discipline issues from players that are wanting to be a captain and not necessarily just voted on because they're the best player like Aubameyang. He was kind of pushed into it. I don't think he was never really the captain prototype. And then the Granit Xhaka thing is very complex, with people just being so terrible to him and his family at that time, and everything just kind of boiled over. I don't think he's right for the role again, but I understand his frustration from that situation. But again, I think any of those players, I don't think any fan would complain if any of those players got the armband, and I think they'd all be great for it. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with it. If Mikel maybe keeps doing leadership groups, I mean, it hasn't been terrible so far, or if he names a proper captain. We'll just have to see.
I think what has happened in the past, Jay probably agree with me, it's been the captain's role's been diluted, isn't it, really? It's been when Emery got there, he appointed 5 captains And that for me was just destroying that sort of iconic role developed by Tony Adams and then taken over by Patrick Vieira. And then we started getting, I think we'll probably agree on this as well, Jake. I don't like strikers being captains. I don't, you can't get an overall picture of the game. And for me, it's important to be either a fullback or a midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was an element of Aubameyang's sort of decline, if that's the right word to use. There's an element of that was to do with being captain. I don't think he was just, some players are made to be captain and some aren't, and he, for me, just wasn't made for it. I think he felt the weight of the captaincy, and he's the type of character that he portrays publicly is somebody that certainly doesn't want to show any weakness. So I don't think he dealt with that very well. And I think in years to come, I don't know, maybe that will come out that he never really wanted the captaincy. Again, just reiterating what Mitch said. Tierney's a funny one because he's the typical British sort of old school English British captain is somebody a bit like Tony Adams or Patrick Vieira or whatever, physical, strong in the tackle, vocal, at the expense of maybe the more technical players, and Tierney definitely fits that. Technically he's okay, but I think what people like about him, and especially in maybe last season or the season before, is that what we did see of him, he was very committed and very vocal, very hated losing, and was ultimately our standout performer. I think there is a sort of a debate as to whether he is in and amongst the squad. He's a leader, if that makes sense. So he might in and amongst the squad. I'm not entirely sure that he's considered to be a leader, like say Ramsdale, or which obviously which would make sense putting him captain. But for me, definitely Gabriel or White. Ben White, especially recently, he seems to have
come into the position.
Yeah, you've just seen it a little bit more on TV. You've seen him. He's sort of become. I'm sure he's been like this all season, but he's been a lot more vocal and a lot more all over the place, in a good way. But for me, Gabriel, he's been a monster this season. But either of those two, for me, it's got to be a defender. It's got to be somebody or a central midfielder.
None of this sitting on the fence, Jake. Come on, give us one.
I'd go with, and I know there might be a potential sort of language barrier, but I'd go with Gabriel. Ramsdale's the type of character that, whether he's captain or not, he's going to be the way he is, and he's going to influence the team and squad in his way, regardless of whether he's got an armband or not, which can only be a good thing, and that goes with the same goes with Tierney and a number of others. So I think in an ideal world, Mikel would give it back to Xhaka, as much as I hate to say it, but he rates Granit, doesn't he? And he just constantly keeps putting him back in, regardless of whatever Granit tends to do. But yeah, for me, I'd go with Gabriel.
Mitch, make a choice.
Tierney captain, Odegaard vice captain.
I'm going to go Odegaard. There's just something about that boy. He's growing in stature. His ability to get involved and kind of alter the course of a game. And we've got the best years of all these people ahead of us. It's absolutely brilliant. So let's just dip into what we've heard. We've got a new goalkeeper coming in the summer, and we picked up a fullback, Austin Trusty. He's left-footed. He's 6'3", and I've seen very little footage of him, but he's going back out on loan. But I think he'll be quite useful.
As an American, I'm very excited about these signings. I'm probably one of the very, very few people that own a Gideon Zelalem Arsenal jersey, because I was just so excited about an American, like a young American, potentially playing for Arsenal. And he made a grand total of 0 appearances in the first team. and I have a relic of a jersey now. So I'm very excited about a couple of Americans joining. Matt Turner, especially, I'm a big fan of his. Very, very good goalkeeper. Won the goalkeeper of the tournament during the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which was very exciting. He was fantastic in every single match of that tournament. He's an outstanding shot stopper. And I think, like Ramsdale, has a pretty decent ability on the ball. I don't think he's anywhere near what Ramsdale can do, but he can ping a nice long ball to feet. He's not just hoofing it. And I think he is getting better at it. His age is a little, I for one, thought he was a lot younger than he is. He's 27. I thought he was a lot younger. But he's competing a lot with Zach Steffen for the #1 shirt of the U.S. And it's kind of a toss-up on who that is going to be game to game. They've both been very good. And Matt Turner will be a very, very good backup. I think it's a great, great choice. Like, not very expensive. He'll be a good backup. He's not like Leno, where he very easily could be starting for a different bigger European team. I think it's a very good pick. And then I haven't seen much of Austin Trusty, but as someone from Colorado, I'm very excited about a Rapids player joining us. It's cool to see the connection of a Kroenke team. I would love to see us do kind of what the Red Bull group and what the Manchester City group do, of like using their different clubs, and even Brentford too. They have their owner has a club in Denmark that they use for like kind of a developmental team to get top flight experience and stuff like that. And I'd love for Arsenal to start using the resources of this connection with the Colorado Rapids a little bit better. The MLS is improving as a league. It's obviously nowhere near the Premier League, but it's still a decent competition. And there's good players to be found there, as we're seeing with more and more Americans coming to Europe and succeeding. So it's cool to see us dipping our toes into that market. And as an American fan, I can't help but love it. I would love us to sign Tyler Adams at some point, because we've been linked to him for a little bit, and he's a great, great player for RB Leipzig. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with those guys. I'm not as confident that Austin Trusty might like ever make an appearance for us. I don't know. It just seemed kind of an odd move. There's been reports that we're sending him on loan again next season, but he's left-footed. He might fit into a Pablo Mari kind of role once we sell him, because Arteta likes to have that left-footed center back. So we'll see what happens with him. I haven't watched enough of him to make a full judgment about him, but it's definitely an interesting look that we signed 2 Americans this window.
Jay, do you think we're going down this route now? We're kind of looking at our overheads, where the next source and pool of players are coming from. So it's from the American market, which is doing really well at the moment. Some high-profile players, some really exciting talent there. Do you reckon that's where we're heading? We're coming off, because it was normally France and Spain and Germany, and we're kind of getting our feelers out somewhere else.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I mean, they're very low risk, aren't they? You know, if it doesn't work out, then we haven't really lost too much. Like Mitch said, you know, with Turner, he's experienced. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert on either of the players, because I'm not. But it makes sense. I suppose from one angle, it's good. It's decent planning from the club that they're signing a goalkeeper now, knowing that Leno's going to leave, you know, and because apart from Leno, we really haven't got anybody in that position, and hopefully we're going to be playing European football next season, so you need sort of 2 or 3 solid goalkeepers. But yeah, potentially it's a market. It's a very low risk. Like I said, it's a low risk market. You're not investing millions and millions in players, and if it doesn't go well, we can offload them or loan them out or whatever. So I think it's clever by the club. You know, it's like Mitch touched on. It's intelligent purchasing. It's low risk. So I mean, they weren't the players that we wanted, were they, in that window? But we'll see. I hope it works out for them both.
Right, it's that time again. It's getting out time. Let's just have a look at the Wolves game. What do we think prediction wise?
I'm looking forward to finally watching some games again. This has been too long of a break. I think we will be getting back on track. Are Party and Jaka still suspended for this one?
I don't think so. I think
No, I think they're clear.
If they're both back, I'm feeling very good. Because then we'll likely have our full 11 if Tomiyasu's healthy, if those two are both back. And if that's the case, I'm feeling very good about the match. Wolves are a good side, but it's time for us to get it moving again. We had a good start to the year with our first half against Man City, and it hasn't really been fantastic since, bar like the Liverpool game at Anfield. So it's time to get on going if we want to get to that fourth spot. I'm not good with predictions. I'm too much of an optimist. I'm always going to predict we're going to win.
Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a tricky game. They've got some strong players. I'm quite glad Traore's gone to Barcelona, because although he doesn't, he didn't tend to get in too often. He's such a difficult opponent, and scares me a little bit.
What are they feeding that guy? It's just solid muscle, isn't it? It's like,
but they're a decent side. I've always quite liked Pedence. They're sort of number 10. He's a good little player, and Jimenez is decent. I think we're away from home, aren't we? So, I mean, you live in hope that we can get a result. We have to kick on. We have to show intent, and we have to start well, and we need to start scoring. So, prediction, I think we will win 2-0.
sounds good to me. I'm going to go a grubby 1-0. We're just getting back into the swing of things. We need to oil the engine, so to speak. And it'll probably be that ESR chap again gets a goal. He's a little bit nifty and useful, isn't he? Yeah. Chaps, it's been brilliant talking to you once again. Jay, I'll see you on the next one. Mitch, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Hope you enjoyed it, and come back again.
Thank you very much.
All right, then. Take care, you guys.
Ta-da.